everybody, I'm Ryan, and today we're going to look at Jeskai aggro, Jeskai Convoke, whatever you want to call it, and flex slots in the deck, and different builds in the deck, and how to build the deck, and all that stuff that we're going to look at today. That intro was incoherent, but we're going to jump into it. So these are the non-flex slots in Jeskai aggro. These are the cards you pretty much have to play when you're playing the deck. These 51 cards in the main deck, and these 7 cards in the sideboard, which means there are 9 flex slots in the main deck and 8 flex slots in the sideboard. So what do we play in those slots? Well, these are the options for our flex slots. So of these 18 cards, you're going to select 9 for the main deck, and of these 18 cards in the sideboard, you're going to select 8. So let's talk about these cards. So you're going to select 3 of these lands, any of these lands. They kind of depend on what list you look at. It's pretty feels random depending on what land is selected. Really, you want to be playing your colors or be cutting one of these 3 colored lands for a Mirrex. Mirrex being able to pay 3 mana to create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxic 1. The big thing here is that it's an artifact, so it can be the target of Gleeful Demolition, but also it's just another creature, and it can fix mana the turn Mirrex comes on the battlefield. I'm not sure if it's totally worth it cutting one of these colored lands, but it totally could be, depending on what you want to cut. I don't think it really matters. Seachrome Coast notably doesn't enter untapped after turn 3, assuming you hit all your land drops. So I'm not sure why decks would cut that, especially since it's unconditional in early turns, and with aggressive decks being so good right now. But those are the 3 options to cut. So that leaves 6 more cards as far as flex slots go in the main deck. You could pick 2 Clockwork Percussionists as a 1-mana 1/1 with haste. It's an artifact, notably. When Clockwork Percussionist dies, exile the top card of your library. You may play it till the end of your next turn. This card's pretty good because it allows you to dig deeper after you Gleeful Demolition. It also can apply a little bit of pressure the turn it comes out, and it's hard to block because you get to dig deeper when it dies. You can play 2 Torch the Tower if you're really worried about the aggressive decks. Just additional removal isn't that bad. Torch the Tower just also happens to be decent against decks that are looking to block us, like Golgari, for example. Case of the Gateway Express, we could play the 4th case. This is just mostly removal. When it enters the battlefield, choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals 1 damage to that creature. And then we can solve it if we attack with 3 or more creatures this turn. And when it's solved, creatures you control get +1/+0 till end of turn. So this is really good because it's removal on one side and then it pumps our creatures on the other, which is exactly what this deck is attempting to do, which is why we're already playing 3 as far as non-flex slots go. We're playing 1 Sheltered by Ghosts already, but we could play up to an entire playset. Sheltered by Ghosts is a 2-mana enchantment aura. You can enchant a creature you control. When Sheltered by Ghosts enters, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Sheltered by Ghosts leaves the battlefield. So it's an O-ring effect, essentially, for creatures. Enchant a creature gets +1/+0, has lifelink, and ward 2. This is very, very good against the aggressive decks, mostly for like the lifelink and also getting rid of one of their creatures and then having to point a burn spell at this creature and pay extra mana to get rid of it. But generally good against decks that are playing a lot of creatures, maybe not have a lot of removal for us, but really we want it for the aggressive decks. War Leader's Call we could play as a 2 of. It's a 3-mana anthem that says whenever a creature you control enters, War Leader's Call deals 1 damage to each opponent. It's just really solid. I think the reason this is getting cut from a lot of decks is that it doesn't do anything on its own, but when War Leader's Call is good, it is absolutely excellent and can give you some reach after you've stopped attacking. We could play 2 Painter's Studio Defaced Gallery. Painter's Studio is a 3-mana room or door. When you unlock this door, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them till the end of your next turn. Or a 2-mana door. Whenever you attacking creatures you control get +1/+0 till end of turn. So it's effectively an anthem for 2 mana on one side, and on the other side we can dig deeper. The issue is, again, it doesn't do too much totally on its own. It doesn't remove, it isn't a threat in and of itself. It's just an anthem effect and a dig effect. And then we can play 2 Mockingbird. Is a 1 blue and X is a 1/1 bird bard with flying. You may have Mockingbird enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except it's a bird in addition to its other type, and it has flying. This is good because you can copy things that have enter the battlefield effects that are very good. So I'm thinking mostly Imidane's Recruiter, but copying something like Resolute Reinforcements to get multiple creatures to then convoke more or whatever is also very, very solid. So you're going to be selecting 3 of these 4 lands and then 6 of these other cards to join the non-flex slots in the main deck. As far as the sideboard goes, we have 8 slots. We could pick to Get Lost just as a pretty unconditional removal. Creature, enchantment, planeswalker at instant speed. We don't really care that they get map tokens because we're the aggressive deck. We could play Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate. When Rest in Peace enters, exile all graveyards. If a card or token would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. We've already talked about Sheltered by Ghosts, but really it's for the aggressive decks, and you should probably be playing the playset in the 75, whether it be between the main deck or the sideboard. 2, Split Up. Split Up is pretty good, especially against the other aggressive decks or other Convoke decks, because if they're attacking, their creatures are going to be tapped. You untap and then play Split Up and say tapped creatures. It can very often be a one-sided board wipe. Disdainful Stroke for non-split up board wipes and like the Overlords and stuff. Protect Negotiators, mostly for board wipes. People are leaning more towards Protect Negotiators because Split Up is very good against us specifically, because we're going to be convoking and attacking as much as possible, and we tap our creatures at sorcery speed. So having Protect the Negotiators to protect our creatures is super important. Lithomantic Barrage for problematic creatures, or I guess planeswalkers that are white or blue. Torture Tower we've already talked about, mostly for aggressive decks, or really decks that are looking to block with toughness 2 or 3. And then 2, Obliterating Bolt. Obliterating Bolt deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. Just a 2-mana card, get more things out of the way, particularly good against Overlords and things like Zur and stuff too. But you're going to select 8 of these cards to join our non-flex slots in the sideboard. And then once you have taken 9 of these 18 main deck flex slots and 8 of these 18 sideboard flex slots, you have created your very own but stock version of Jeskai Convoke. So if you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.